Welcome back. You're watching Nation Tonight. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has tightened his grip on the Republican presidential nomination after a record-setting and comfortable win in the Iowa caucus. With 51% votes, Trump has also moved closer to a probable rematch between him and President Joe Biden. Here's what he said after his victory. Listen in.
Very simple. MAGA, make America great again. And America first. America first is a very important part of MAGA. So we're going to put America first. We're going to make America great again. Again, Iowa, we love you.
Now, interestingly, Trump also heaped praises on Indian origin Vivek Ramaswamy, who in a surprising announcement dropped out of the Republican race after finishing fourth. Ramaswamy went on to endorse the former president and urged Republican voters to put an America First patriot in the White House. Take a listen.
As of this moment, we are going to suspend this presidential campaign. And this is going to have to be, and now going forward, he will have my full endorsement for the presidency. And I think we're going to do the right thing for this country.
Donald Trump, meanwhile, also praised Vivek Ramaswamy in his victory speech on Monday. This, remember, comes a day after he cast him as a threat to his Make America Great Again movement. Now, this new camaraderie ended what had been a battle between Trump and a rather popular on social media Vivek Ramaswamy. The 38-year-old Ohio entrepreneur and first-time political candidate made headlines with his controversial speeches and statements, with social media abuzz with his opinions. Here's a quick look at some of the statements, the top 5 statements that he has given in the past. At number 5 is his statement questioning the 9/11 attacks. Ramaswamy said that the US government has lied about the 9/11 attacks. It is legitimate to say that there were 0 police, federal agents on the planes that hit the Twin Towers. At number 4 is what he said about US presidential candidates. He said all American presidential candidates are bought and paid for by donors, making his case stand distinct from his competitors. Next up, what he said about racism actually raised a lot of eyebrows. He said, racism in America is manufactured in a way that creates more racism in this country. At number 2, he said something that all Indians should be concerned about. He said that he will gut the H-1B visa program, which he said is an indentured servitude. He also asserted that the lottery-based system will be replaced with more effective meritocratic admission. And at number 1 is his statement on the LGBTQ plus community, something that raised a lot of alarm in America and also invited criticism. He said there are only 2 genders and gender dysphoria should be treated as a mental illness. So this has been Vivek Ramaswamy's controversial statements in this campaign. Now, of course, he's withdrawn from the battle. What remains is to be seen whether Donald Trump does reach the final logical end of this campaign. To talk more on this, I'm joined on the broadcast by Suresh Goel, former ambassador, and Robinder Sachdev, founder, president, Imagindia Institute. Good evening, namaskar, welcome to the both of you. Robinder Sachdev, let me start with you. How do you see this victory of Donald Trump in the Iowa caucus? It's a significant, contest to win. Something that probably was expected, but not as much as the kind of margin, the 51% vote share that he has got in this caucus win.
No, you're absolutely right. It was expected he would win. It was also expected that Nikki Haley would do better. Going into the caucuses, it was like 48% for Trump and 21 for Nikki and 18 or 19 for Vivek. But coming out is like 50 plus for Donald Trump and all, etc. So it definitely shows that Republican Party, their base, and let us remember, this is a caucus happening within the Republican Party. The game, end of the day, will be between the Democrats and Republicans and the independents in between. So this round has clearly gone to Donald Trump, shows that within the Republican Party, his message is carrying, weight, etc. Now, what Vivek Ramaswamy, if the discussion would be, he had very outlandish views, but he brought himself into the public domain, a discussion. And now he says he will support Donald Trump. So going forward, it depends. You see, in America, picking a vice presidential candidate on your ticket is a very calculated decision because the momentum is by the leader, be it a Biden or Trump. Ramaswamy has positioned himself as an able candidate for that, but I think he will not because his views are very, again, beyond the spectrum. He calls for abolishing the FBI. He calls for abolishing the US Department of Education. He calls for abolishing some other entities, etc. So what he's taking out, and by the way, but yes, I do think, and let's give him the potential. He will modify his views in 2028. He will be or could be a very high potential. He's about, what about 38 right now? 4 years down the line, he'll be 42, 46. He will be a formidable candidate in the coming years. But right now, see, Trump
Okay.
to choose his VP partner could go as well with Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley is more stable,
Or
more,
Vivek Ramaswamy if he does eventually win. Yeah.
sorry.
Uh, Ambassador Suresh Goel, I said Robinder Sachdev, if not Nikki Haley, then probably Vivek Ramaswamy could be the VP, but we'll have to see how that pans out. But Ambassador Suresh Goel, what is working for Donald Trump? There's been a lot of criticism during his time as the president of the US. There was, impeachment processes also against him that were carried out. But what is it that is working in his favor? He's gone on to say that there were no wars during his presidency, something that the Biden time has seen, whether it's the Russia-Ukraine war or the Israel-Hamas war. But in terms of issues, in terms of agenda, what do you think is working for Donald Trump right now?
Most importantly, I think it's all over the West. In fact, if we really see how things are changing, even when Trump was the president, and even when the Capitol Hill took place, there was a lot of sympathy for him simply because he was one president who actually stood for America first. And there is a large number of white community in the USA. And I'm really sorry for using the word white community, but the fact is that over a long period of time, there has been a sense amongst the white community in particularly the white supremacists. There is a feeling among them in the USA that they are being left behind because of the liberal policies of the government. And that's a very reason that Trump actually gained the popularity. And Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy was a different kind of a candidate. I think he was a bit immature. He didn't know how to really capitalize on the political constituency. But if you look at the entire Republican Party agenda and the Democratic Party, the kind of divide that we are now seeing in the USA is very clear, and Europe. And therefore, I think eventually this, how shall I put it, this balance towards America for Americans, America first. We should actually be there in the forefront. We are the first. That is going to carry forward. So eventually, as the time goes by, I suspect that Biden,
Do you think, Ambassador Goel, the sentiment that has gripped Europe right now, the one which is going against immigrants, against refugees, against them entering the borders. Do you think that is going also in Trump's favor? Because in his victory speech, he went on to also say that we're going to seal up the borders if we win. We're continuing with his, previous call. Do you think that also is something that is working and spilling over to the American sentiment right now?
I think what is happening now in the USA, again, after a long period of a kind of an economic, I will not call it downturn, but economic kind of, things not going anywhere at all. There is a preponderance of the feeling in the USA that it has to be the America first. And the America basically means conservatives. America basically means the Americans first, really. And that means non-immigration policy, Asians, China. I think essentially it is really the same non-immigration, the rightist policy, which is coming into vogue again, and which is actually carrying Trump into the forefront. Yes.
Okay. Robinder Sachdev, what do you think are the key issues then in this year's US presidential elections? There's been, like Ambassador Goel said, concerns about economy. Now, economists and experts might like to think that America is doing, fairly decently post-COVID and the kind of recoveries that we haven't seen across economies. But does the average American on the street think so? Number one, economy is one concern. Then, of course, the foreign policy, the wars that the Biden presidency has seen, that has been a concern. The Israel-Hamas war has divided US campuses so much and so deeply. You've got students, not just threatening each other, but even manhandling each other and taking sides in this war in American campuses. That is a concern. Abortion has been a key issue. What do you think have been really the main concerns for Americans when they now want to choose their president? Robinderji, I'd request you to unmute yourself, please.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Firstly, I would like to totally break things into two parts. What is playing out right now is within the Republican Party and within the Republican supporters of whom they want as their candidate to contest against, let's say, Biden, Democrats. So the issues which are out there, and Trump, let's say, getting a 50 plus, which is huge in Iowa, support, is within the Republican Party. The way politics and elections in America plays out is that Republicans choose their own candidate, Democrats choose their own candidate, and then they both contest. So what we are seeing Trump representing is the Republican Party, which believes in many of the things which Ambassador Goel said and you said, highlighted, etc. But that may not mean that when it comes to general elections in America, that majority Americans will agree to that. That is the key here. Republican Party, to a large extent, it seems that Trump is gaining control, has a monolith, grip on the party within the Republicans. This game, caucus in Iowa is within Republicans. Who do you think is a good candidate? Trump or Nikki Haley or DeSantis or Ramaswamy. This currently what's happening is within the universe of the Republican Party. The bigger question is that how will the Republican candidate face off with the Democrat candidate, which would be a Biden?
Yeah.
That's the worldview which will crash.
Yeah, that is something that needs to be seen. But quickly, let me then ask you, Ambassador Goel, my last question, and then I'll wrap this discussion up. Is that, of course, there are many months to this presidential election, to the final result of it. But if Donald Trump does win and come back to becoming the president of the United States once again, how do you think it's going to impact India? Because we've seen the India-US relations prosper in the Trump time. We've also seen them prosper in the Biden time. Does anything change? What changes? How does it impact?
That's a good question, really, because like you said, that India had good relations with the USA during Trump's time and during Biden's time. But there was one huge difference, really. If you notice, during Biden's time, it actually began to take more of an ideological turn. There were issues like uh, human rights, there were issues like India being a democracy, there were questions raised about the opposition, the rights, the religious freedoms, and all kinds of issues, really. Even though Biden
Yeah.
really valued partnership with India, but the major plank for that really was actually the emerging influence of China in Indo-Pacific, and therefore India became a partner for the USA in the struggle against China. For Trump, the issue is not going to be China. China will be there, but China will be there as a kind of a contestant to the American trade, the American influence, American technology, and therefore in the struggle against China, India will be a partner. But the issues like the religious freedoms, I mean, all those issues will be articulated, but they will not constitute the main factors.
All right.
Therefore, what we can really look forward to is a relationship during Trump's time purely based on transactional bilateral interest, where the ideologies will not matter so much as the bilateral interest. That will be the factor. So let us see how it turns out to be. But I think we will continue to do rather well. Yeah.
Yes, well, we'll have to see how this pans out. Ambassador Suresh Goel and Robinder Sachdev, thank you very much to both of you gentlemen for joining us and sharing your perspective on this US presidential election that is now slated to be held in November this year. We'll, of course, have to see who comes out